Hey everyone. First of all, I would like to wish everyone happy Independence Day because in different countries the independence of this time is celebrated. And that being said, what is important is we need to understand the intellectual property laws of different countries. For that matter, the intellectual property law of Bangladesh came into existence. So you're going to see a lot of FDI in the country because of that reason, which is good. I think that's a positive step. What I believe right now is the free trade stuff which needs to happen between different countries, and how different countries can collaborate to work in a direction which makes it easy for more countries to work together. That's point number one. The outcome of the video is very simple because for the very first time, freebies are being taken back, and there's a price for everything in terms of fiat currency. Um, Honestly speaking, for me, the app for which I paid for the very first time in my life was first LinkedIn. LinkedIn, however you want to pronounce that, and I think from way back, obviously, um, $1 uh, in fiat currency, it has crossed 80 plus INR Indian rupees. Um, that being said, I still remember when $1 was around 20 INR. So the point I'm trying to make here is when the recession happened in the early 2000s, and probably I'll put up that document also because there was an investment which never came back in terms of fiat currency, because the first year is never invested. That's what the insurance said. It was Bharti and AXI life insurance, so I'll put that on top of it. So I remember at that point of time, INR 50,000, which never came back, and they wanted people like us to invest in them for 15 years. So that recession happened, and then there was a lot of IP stuff which was developed. So IP drafting is different from the coding stuff at certain level, but the IP drafters, intellectual property drafters, they draft the application, they do the drawings, they orchestrate the embodiments, they orchestrate exactly how the actors have to work in different scenarios. And I think, honestly speaking, on the timeline we are on 2023. I'd like to take you back to 2010. Since 2010 to 2000, we are on the timeline of 2023. I myself have orchestrated those use case studies just to get the use case scenarios, so that it's very important to identify the scenarios. Now, another data set which I want everybody to understand here is when you're creating any kind of scenario with the code in the online world or is a user immersion kind of stuff, you need to make sure when you're talking about the output. Okay, so when you're talking about the output, make sure at least one parameter is constant. When I say one parameter is constant, because then you have little bit of leverage as to how that constant will work when different scenarios are orchestrated. When we talk about IoT, Internet of Things, IoT can stand for different nomenclature. What I have realized is patenting landscape is totally different from the real life landscape. Like SKU, S stands for S for Switzerland, K for kangaroo, U for umbrella. That is one SKU. Now, what is important is obviously Twitter has been rebranded to X. We have 26 letters in English alphabet, to be precise. First, we have to work on the data set of A to Z.com. We need to see the ownership, and we need to see the how the ownership has transferred from a.com, b.com, c.com, d.com, blah blah blah. Now X is right now with what was known as Twitter first. Second thing which I do not agree right now is the verification process. um, at least when we talk about verification in the Indian context, I think the verification should be done with the passport rather than the Aadhaar, because the Aadhaar address, as orchestrated by the Indian government, is not the address which is depicted in the documentation which is submitted before the sub registrar of the state or the central government, blah blah blah. Because then the raw data again, it is rigged. We need to have a simple, straightforward way of doing things. If I look into the data set of what I understand from the limited research I have done till now, because I have to look into the patenting landscape, I'm looking into the trademarking landscape, I have a performer to perform, different enterprises, heading the funding stuff and all. I believe for the time being, let's take the data set of not even the driving license, because driving license also people can change their address. We need to look into the factor of whether the person who is claiming to claim an address which is allocated to that person, is it owned by that person or it is not owned by that person. It becomes very important. Why I say so, when I was looking into the GST stuff, I traveled and then something happened with the GST department. Honestly, I understand that the way GST is deployed in Singapore, we are not being able to deploy in India. That is point number one. Point number two, which is very important, is to understand the ethos of GST. Because for the blockchain to come into existence or any kind of law to come into existence, there has to be a deep understanding of tech. A law background will never suffice as how an engineer mind works. A law background will never suffice the zillion tech which is evolved. Why I'm able to do so is, obviously, I'm not only trained in multiple things. I have multiple degrees from different organizations globally in different capacities. There are many degrees which are not on my LinkedIn profile, but I have those with me. That being said, I think we have to make things simple. I think art needs to marry humanity needs to marry science needs to marry tech needs to marry engineer needs to marry law. There is no one degree, PhD, super PhD, which when deployed in today's generation can suffice the purpose of creating that verse. And that's the reason the Ethiopia diplomatic team is being deployed, where Europe is playing a very pivotal role, and me being part of it, happy to be part of that ethos. And our conference is happening very soon, so travel would be involved. I'm still very much stationed where I should be right now, so that I can just understand the nodes and work it in a manner where it is workable for anyone and everyone. But we need to make sure that banking sector is held accountable. That being said, thank you so much for watching out the video. Happy Independence Day to all the countries. And first of all, be independent with your thought process. It's very important. Once you are independent with your own thought process, your thoughts itself will put you in the right place with the right set of people, because it's never the universe which is working. Universe is, again, it's a word which is coined for some reason, but in reality, you should know yourself first to even talk about the stuff or the orchestration or the user immersion you wish to create. Thank you for watching out the video. Have a great week ahead.